What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of PetMed. So, we're going to have like a high effort, low reward kind of video today where we are going to set up image uploading. So, when I say high effort, low reward, it just means we have a few additional things to set up outside of our pure application itself, but it shouldn't be too bad. And by low reward, I mean we can just upload images, so it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but really, like, you can make cute pet photos. So honestly, in my opinion, that makes it definitely a worthwhile endeavor. So in the past, pretty much whenever I've needed to upload images, I've always just used S3 just because AWS, once you get started with them, it's pretty easy to stay in their ecosystem. But I did want to try something else, and in just a little bit of cursory research, I found a lot of hosting platforms also had their own object storage or like binary large object storage kind of offerings, many of which also are fully S3, SDK compatible, which is really interesting because the code you can write, you can still use Amazon's like development kits, but you'll just give the other cloud platform URLs, for your buckets, and it's going to work the same. So if you're already familiar with the process, it's really like no effort whatsoever to try out a new platform. So I did a little bit of research and I decided that I was going to go try out DigitalOcean's Spaces offering. I'm a huge fan of DigitalOcean. I have a lot of stuff over there. So I figured, why not? I might even end up hosting this app ultimately over on there as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump to it. So first and foremost, with DigitalOcean, you'll have to create a project where it'll be like the namespace of all of these services you integrate. So you'll go ahead, create a new project. I've got like one VPS that kind of handles a lot of stuff for me. So my project here is called like Portfolio VPS. And that's where I ended up sticking it. I probably should have just made a distinct like PetMed project, but whatever. And once you do that, you'll come to Spaces Object Storage. And here you can go ahead and create it. Now, the benefit of AWS S3 specifically is that it's incredibly inexpensive. You can host like thousands of images and get thousands of hits a day, and you might get charged like 12 cents a month. So it's going to be cheap. A lot of these smaller hosting platforms, they will have to charge for that. They just don't have the scale that AWS does. So for most of them, it's roughly like $5 a month, like minimum for a terabyte of data. So like overall, it's not too bad offering wise, but it is going to be like $5 extra a month. So, but like I said, I like DigitalOcean. I'll happily host this with them. So you create your Spaces bucket, and you'll need to make a bucket with a unique URL. You also have a couple settings to configure. Over here for my cores rules, I just gave it a wildcard origin that could get in post just temporarily so we can test it out locally. After you get everything working, you should set it up so that you only have your production, staging, and testing environments linked up to it. In addition to that, the entire bucket can be served with a CDN behind it, which is actually kind of nice. This is a no-charge offering. It is free as far as I know, which is kind of cool, but it's not the default option. So you can check that to switch it over. So those are the two settings we have to change there. And then after we have that bucket created, we'll come over here to API, and that way we can get our keys for Spaces so we can authenticate to it. So you'll click on this tab and click generate after giving it a name, and you'll get your API key and your additional Spaces secret. So I've gone through and done all of that, and I have added them to my environment variables and extracted them out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get everything started. So I need to go ahead and install the AWS SDK. So like, it's really cool because these third-party platforms are allegedly fully interoperable with S3 to the point where you can use any S3 tool, like even one of Amazon's development kits themselves, switching out the URLs. And you can use, Cloudflare or DigitalOcean or Wasabi or one of the other very popular alternatives. So we'll hope this works. We will find out very, very soon. And this is new territory for me as well, using DigitalOcean space. And it's also been forever since I've used S3 and the AWS SDK. So I hope this doesn't end up being just like an Andrew Reed's documentation on video kind of video. If it does look like I'll have to pause development time to go read docs, I'll actually pause the video itself too, and I'll share my findings with y'all just so I don't waste a ton of time. All right, DigitalOcean is going to get a spaces.ts. And from within there, we're going to import the S3 library. We're also going to import our configuration directory. We're going to create an S3 client. New S3 takes an options object. Forget all that it requires. So interestingly enough, we can actually just look at like AWS's docs themselves for what's required, which is kind of funny. The only difference is here in DigitalOcean's docs, we are pointing to their bucket space. So actually, we'll just take all of these as is, swapping out my environment variables, and then from there, we can start using AWS stuff. All right, spaces key, secret. All right, so we've got our S3 client instantiated. Let me go export that here. And I'm going to make a distinct image.ts. I'll let this be like a pure S3 client instantiation file. And here is where we'll deal with actually uploading the image. So we'll import the S3 client from there. Make a function called upload image. Let's see. Have an upload params interface we'll define here for our incoming function arguments. And as I find out what we need, I'll go ahead and update that. We'll do S3 client dot put object. It's been a hot minute since I've used AWS, so let's see. And this is the old SDK, so I don't need to look at that. I need to look at these. Let's see, put object. All right, put object. What arguments does this require? Let's see, body, so like the actual file, like the stream of data, which we're going to be getting from Multer, which npmi Multer. The SDK, AWS SDK definitely comes with types. I don't know if Multer does or not, so Cool, does not. All right. Put object command. All right, let's go see. Put object command inputs. All right, body needs to be a stream of data. So let me go type my code accordingly. That'd be a node stream. Might actually just be like buffer, now that I think about it. Let's see. Let's see, put object command. Let's see, body and bucket, absolutely required. Key is required. Actually, they explicitly say what's required there. Let's go look at that definition. Let's see, body, bucket, key. Is that it? Tagging, server-side encryption. Looks like body, bucket, key are what is actually required. Cool. Okay. So const command is equal to new put object command. Body, foo, bucket, foo. So that's not something that we actually need to pass in here. We just need to hard code that in here from our bucket name. Okay, which is pet hyphenated med. I wasn't sure if it was lowercase or singular or otherwise, but all right. And then what else is required? Key. And that is going to be config. Guess I got to import that back again, even though the S3 client should be authenticated. I guess if you're using this, it's assuming you're sending it without having constructed a client previously. I don't know. Let's see, its file name also. Let's see if file name is a prop. All right, well, let's see where this takes us. So config from // DigitalOcean .spaces key. All right, so we're going to use the s3.send, and then we'll pass in our command here, and we're going to return this. and export this. Well, all right, we'll see where that gets us. So, I don't think that's fully working yet, but we can go ahead and start getting our Multer stuff in place. So that'll be under our pets API routes. We created a distinct upload route here. And what I'm going to do is import Multer. We need to create a storage object with Multer defining how everything's gonna be, buffered. And so I'm gonna create a, well, really depends on your application. You can either store elements in memory or you can store them on disk. You get some pros and cons with each. With memory, if you are deploying on a lower tier server, you might actually run out of memory if you've got a bunch of people uploading files at once, but you get the benefit of it being a lot faster. For this application's sake, I'm just going to go with memory storage just because it'll be a little bit faster. So if there is an issue in the future, if I do actually have a lot of people using it, then I'll be able to scale pretty easily. Otherwise, we can change it to disk storage, or we can just expand the size of the server. But let's see. And then I think I have to supply a new instance of Multer, passing in a storage object, and let's see. It's not a class, so we don't have to instantiate it. There is an additional property. Let's go look at what the Multer options require. Interface Multer, single. Okay. Memory storage. A lot of this is dealing with like the on disk file uploading, so nice. All right, and then we want to specify that we only have a singular file incoming at a time. I'm not allowing multiple file uploads. There's not really a need for this application for that, I think. But let's go ahead and see. Oh, we have to give a field name property. So you can have multiple like Multer storage utilities. You have to say like from which one this is coming from. So this would be... Oh, I'm mistaken. No, this is something that you're actually arranging client side when you're sending multi-part form data. You'll assemble it and give it a field name property. So I'm going to call that image or upload. That'll be totally fine. But that does allow us to now have rec.file or rec.body.file. I'm pretty sure it's rec.file. So const image is equal to rec.file. Yeah. And if we don't have an image, we are going to give a 400, and we'll send off a message saying invalid or missing file. We shouldn't have that get hit. But we'll still validate for it nevertheless. So We should be able to get a buffer from this. And that means we can go ahead and import our, let's see, what do we call it? Upload image function. All right, so const results equal await upload image. Body here is going to be our image dot buffer. And then let's see what's in the results object. I'll just dump the entire results object as a response to see what's provided in there. So with that being done, let's actually go ahead and test it out. I'm certain it's not going to work, but we're just going to use this kind of whack-a-mole issues out of the way. All right. npm run dev. We'll get our dev server fired up and running. And then API. I don't really have a greatly organized collection for this yet. I think between this and the next video, I might have like a documentation kind of day where I make the README a little bit nicer, maybe go through and comment some stuff out in the app, maybe provide this Postman collection and populate it as part of the repo, and maybe even do some tests. I might also make a video on testing as well if y'all are interested in that. So if y'all are, just let me know. All right. So we'll have this be a post request to localhost:8000 /API/pets/upload. And uploading everything through Postman file-wise. Let's see. I might not actually be able to do that, says the man who used Postman a ton. I'm fairly certain you can. Let's see. Postman send image multiport. Let's see, body, raw, that's JSON. Okay, oh, form data, they got a key file, they value file. Okay. So body, raw, form data. The key we said for the multi-part form data here was going to be upload. So that's what I'll specify here. And this drop down goes from text to file. And then I'll upload a random image. Let's see, downloads. It's RuneScape pick. All right, let's try to send it. Let's see what breaks. We got a 200. And request ID. Let's see if that generates the, let's see if one of these are the ID for that image. So it looks like we actually did get it working. I honestly thought this was going to be like an hour-and-a-half video of me kind of like clumsily kludging through everything. But no kidding. Let's see. And then, okay, so I need to specify permissions. That's something I have to do via code. Okay, cool. So we did successfully submit it. Now I do need to specify ACL public read. Is the authenticator read? Yeah, public read. So I want everybody to be able to view images. So we've got that specified. What else? What else? Now the info it bounces back was not the most helpful context. Let's see. Because I want to be able to specify like a file name with like UUID or something. I also like that the random hash here reads out as like doozy almost. Like, oh, that was a doozy. Getting that uploaded. That's kind of a fun discovery. Do I have to use this info to get that back in some kind of way? If so, that would be really annoying. S3 get URL of uploaded file. Like a key name. Oh, is key supposed to be the file name? Well, I probably need to re-roll my keys in that instance, but that makes a lot more sense now. Okay, because then when you're uploading it, you can know what the URL is. Excellent. Okay. I think we've found a very easy way to get that taken care of. Okay, yeah. Let me try uploading another image here. So we're going to get rid of that one. We're going to go to downloads. Let's see. We've got... We'll do this, PetMed. And before I send that, let me add a UUID here. Which I believe does have types built in. Oh, and they do not have types, so let's go ahead and add those. All right. So we'll generate an ID here for the image itself. And then key name will be that. Let's go back to this. All right, so we'll pass in a key here, since that is not actually like your secret key, but instead the file name. All right, so what I'll do here is I'm gonna go ahead and return the ID in addition to the results spread out into this new object here. And then we can reconstruct the URL with the format of whatever DigitalOcean has it as. So we've got our bucket name there, we've got the rest of the URL, and then we have the ID at the end. So we can do this. And I probably should also include the file extension as part of the key. That way browsers won't try to lazily just be like, oh, I don't understand the content type because I'm not reading the headers. Well, let me just auto download it and let the user figure it out. We'll let browsers be lazy and say, okay, well, if it has a file extension, we'll treat it as that. So the extension here is going to be image dot let's see. You would think, or I thought Multer had like content type headers that would allow you to see. Oh, MIME type. There we go. Staring at that the entire time. Yeah, okay. Done. Well, that'll be the content type header, not the file extension. So, field name. Field name would be upload. File name would be the original file name. Original name. Path, size, stream. Okay, I guess we'll just do some string manipulation. We could use like path and ext name or just do some like string splitting. But I'm pretty sure original name does include the original, or does include the original extensions. Yeah, so we'll split on a period. And pull out the original name and the extension. Well, crap. Because there could be additional periods in the file name itself as well. Let me just use path. There's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel for a built-in. All right. So come back here. The extension is going to be based off of the path.ext name of image.original name. So we'll strip off the extension there. And then let's do this. Const key is equal to, and we'll concatenate ID. And I'm pretty sure path.ext name does also return the period. So yeah, we'll let it do that. Here we'll interpolate key in the URL. And we'll bounce key even in here, why is not. All right. Feeling a lot more confident right now about what is getting sent. So let's go ahead, come back over here. I'll delete this. And then let's go ahead and try to send that image. All right, adding in our additional parameters did not break anything. Now we do have a unique ID. We do have the unique ID with an extension, and we do have a URL which should be viewable in the browser. I don't know why it's still trying to auto download. I don't know how much control we have over like setting headers of the data we upload. Let me just try making sure it's like publicly viewable at first. So let's see. Public index.html right above our React app. Okay, cool. So it is actually uploading it correctly. Fan-freaking-tastic. We're getting a nice unique URL, which is a pretty long one, but I think I made the field like 200 characters for image URL. So that is not bad at all. Let's see. Where do I have that? Down here. All right, 88 characters. So we're still under 100. And I mean, I'm using UUIDs for file names. So like that's of some decent substance. So I think we're good. I can double check with Beekeeper, pop into my database and see, but we have file uploading working. So now all we need to do is take the URL and store that image URL for the pet. So we've got a little bit more we need to add to this upload route, but honestly, not too much left. Oh wait, I connected to MySQL, Postgres, there we go. PetMed, pets, image URL. I said 128 characters. We could still fit like a second UUID in the URL. That's actually a lot of space. So we are good on that. For users, same thing. I don't know why I would have made them different file sizes, but excellent. All right. So now we can get everything uploaded. We can get a URL bounced back. And what I need to do now is actually store this image in the database. So we need to see if I have that query written for pets. I'm not sure if I do or not. I don't. So const add image. And this is going to take the ID, which is going to be a pet ID field. And then we are also going to have the image underscore URL, which comes from the pet image URL property. So we'll pass in our ID, image URL. We'll say update pets set image underscore URL equal to $1, where ID equals $2, and then image URL, ID, boom. All right, cool. We are really making some awesome progress. I am actually really happy with the previous video and this because things are starting to come together. I know we are just very much still in the beginning stages of this app, but we do have some major milestones knocked out. db.pets.addImage, and then the ID is going to come from the rec body, so I need to grab that out. The image URL. Is right there. Now, should I, let's see. Now I'm actually rethinking how that's gonna flow. Actually, instead of me updating the pet here, well, I was going to say I can just do it on the initial upload. So what we could do is, they've got their input form in React or whatever. They're filling out some fields. I have an image upload. And as they, click their file uploader and, let React take it, it goes ahead and preemptively shoots off the post request to API pets upload and gets the URL back. And then from there, from the client side, well, then they finish filling out the form with the required bits of info and also that newly added image URL property. And that would be all fine and dandy, but somebody might elect to not upload a pet photo yet and then upload it at a later point, in which case I probably would want to have the upload here be a separate... What I can do is this. I'll make it dynamic. An image can be uploaded without a pet ID. And we'll assume that's kind of the workflow for your creating it. So if we create it without a pet's ID being required, we can assume this is like the creation stage. So we can just return the URL. And that way they can then just make the post request, you know, a minute or two later once all the information's filled out. And then after that, if they chose not to make an image then but choose to update later, we can just conditionally evaluate, hey, do they have the, you know, ID in the rec body? And if they do, we'll go ahead and fire that. So let's do that. All right. So I'll extract the ID out, and then only if an ID is provided will we do that. So this is only going to get hit if you're updating a pet that's been previously created. Otherwise, this gets, you know, unutilized, and the upload process is the same. You just will have the URL get added to the client-side data, and then, you know, it gets thrown back down. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Let's see this. I will rename to image URL. That way we can do a nice object property shortcut here. We'll do the same thing here. That way React can extract it out and just add that to the eventual rec.body that gets sent down when creating it, if that is created. Cool. That's what we're going to do. All right, well, that kind of wraps it up. So overall, it was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, even with this being a completely new, you know, platform offering for me. So I love DigitalOcean. I use them for a lot of things. They've got really good like community documentation for just miscellaneous programming stuff. It's kind of cool that, you know, a lot of that has nothing to do with them, but they still have really good curated resources. However, you know, very first time, Spaces Object Storage. I thought it was going to be like AWS. I thought we wouldn't even be halfway through the video at this point, just because I know there are, you know, a few things that we do have to configure extra with AWS that we don't really have to worry about. We just had a few settings here, some of which I just overlooked initially, which kicked us back a few minutes. But overall, this really was not that bad. So to kind of recap over everything that we've done, the TLDR of this video starting at like 43. We go to DigitalOcean, we create a project, we create a Spaces object storage. So we create our bucket here, created mine PetMed, came over to settings for it, set up cores to be wildcarded at the moment, set it up to be enabled to sit behind the CDN. And then after we did that, we went down to API, went to Spaces keys, got two keys, our secret key and our like API key. I'm not exactly sure what their distinction is between the two, but we got those. And then finally we were able to get coding. So when coding, we added our key and our secret here into our configuration objects, exported that out. We then created a Spaces service here, which I just more or less ripped from their docs. And they just use the AWS SDK for their own documentation because they are pretty much fully compatible. Most of the common S3 upload functions that, or not even upload, but most of the S3 functions that you can you can also use with their, space, which is really, really cool. So we instantiate the client, and then we created a distinct image uploading service. I might have other file uploads I choose to do at another point, who knows. But this takes the raw buffer of the file that we got from Multer, and then the file name, including the extension, as key. And then this function, we create a new put object command object, passing in the body, the key. We set the access control list, the ACL, to be public read. That's what allows me or anybody else to go open it up in the browser and see what it is. Otherwise, we get that 403 forbidden XML dump. And then the bucket in which it's going in, which is our PetMed bucket that I just created. And then in our pet route, we imported Multer and UUID. We created a memory storage object with Multer. We configured Multer with just that storage object. It's a lot more configuration if you're doing the on-disk stuff. So when we were scrolling through their, TypeScript documentation, so much, 80% of that at least was just dealing with disk storage. So memory storage, really easy to get started with, but it does have some drawbacks. So we do that, and we run through the multer.single middleware. This is the key we are looking for. So whenever we're sending multi-part form data, either from the client side or from Postman, whatever I put here is whatever it looks for, because yet again, we can send a bunch of different things in a bunch of different ways. And I can tag it with whatever. And then after that, that gives us the ability to access rec.file. So we grab the file, we grab the ID potentially out the rec.body, could be undefined. We validate that the image is at least there first. We create a UUID. We extract out the extension of the original file that came through to us. And then we create a reconstructed key here, aka the file name and extension. Then we just pass that in addition to the raw buffer or stream of data for the body property to the upload image function. And that takes care of it. Honestly, really not a whole lot of code. We did more accessory code in setting up our, parsing, creating our variables and file names and URLs than we really did with image uploading, which is crazy. And the way we ended up deciding here ultimately is if the ID is present, that is because you are making an upload for an existing pet. And I guess we really could make this, I could break up my app and make a bunch of controllers, and that way I could have a distinct put request to alter a pet for an image upload, but I'm content with this. So if the ID is present, we're editing a pre-existing pet. Otherwise, if we're not, we create it, bounce that image URL back, client side, that gets received, saved to state. Then the person can actually successfully save their, brand new pet. Sweet. All right, well, like I said, that was a lot of functionality knocked out. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. And now that we've done that and the email auth, those are a couple big, tasks that I wasn't necessarily dreading, just not looking forward to when creating this. So now that we've got that knocked out the way, it's kind of just more general CRUD operations, getting back into that flow. So hopefully that means some shorter, more digestible videos for y'all, so you don't have to hear me droning on for almost an hour. But yeah, if you've been enjoying this video series, go ahead and be sure to like the video and maybe even subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And that way you get notified whenever I post a new video in this series. And otherwise, I'll catch you guys in episode 8.